start by taking a remark from the chair in the person of Dr. Violet Makuku. We'll take her remarks and then we'll start the discussion.
Thank you very much, Felicia. You are all welcome. We are getting into this other exciting session, and it's also important for us to tackle it because we also need to close the gap that has been created long back, and we hope that with such a session we will be able to make some steps in the right direction. Now, regarding women and girl children, maybe earlier on in my country, I'm not sure if it applies also or it applied in your countries. If there was money, or both the girl child and the boy child would go to school. If there was no money, the boy child would go to school. Is it a familiar situation? So it applied throughout the continent. And then I just want to give you one incident. I normally do training workshops on quality assurance. This time I was in Uganda with a group of people who had come from another country. So there were about 30 men. I was standing in front of them for a solid 4 days. So later on, when we were about to finish, because I didn't want to disturb them, I asked them, so where you are coming from, are there no women in higher education? They said they are there. And I said, why did you not pick at least one? You know, the issues are around there. But the next time they came, they took it and brought 10 women. And that was a good thing. But in order to convince them, I did not need to attack them directly. I had to tell them about situations in my home country, that because my parents also saw it as very important for me as a girl child to go to school. That is why I was standing every day in front of them, them also taking notes and listening to me. So I was even urging them to do the same for their girl children. Funny things with our cultures and traditions, as far as they also impact in this direction, there were these issues, liver and eggs are for men alone, and this thing. Those are some of the small traditional and cultural issues of segregating according to gender lines. But this time, let's zero down into higher education and see how it goes with the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Violet Makuku, for those introductory remarks. Now we are starting the discussion, and my first question to our panelists is that I don't want us to start the discussion assuming that women are really not in leadership or girls don't find themselves in this occupying leadership positions. So we want to sort of try to understand what is the current situation looking like. Do we really find our women occupying various leadership positions, or they are really not there? We want to have the background. How is the situation looking like?
Oh. Okay. Let me start by just bringing it back. We want to, you've asked the question, are women in leadership position? Definitely there are a few women in leadership positions, but I want us to look at the reality on the ground. Now let's look at the panel that's just left here. There were 6 people on the panel of 7. There was 1 woman. And why was she here? She was a woman's commissioner of SRC. Is that to tell us that in the higher education space, among our students, there are no other females who could have being in this chair, apart from her being the Women's Commissioner. So we need to walk the talk. We are all talking about it rhetoric. Oh, the women are not here, the women are not there, the women. It can come in 2 or 3 different ways. And then also, let me also throw another wrench into the space. Again, even on this panel, I would have been happy to have 1 man or 2 men also on this panel. So it is not a women's thing. For me, that is where I come from. It is not a women's thing. It is a gender diversity inclusion. That is what we are about. It's not about women. It's not about men. It's a gender thing. All of us are together. Who says that a man cannot be talking about this role, whatever we are talking about? They also have their perspectives. They can share. So together, we can all share. So as I sat here, I was just amused. I said, yeah, it's the usual thing. 1 woman, you bring her in. Why have you brought her in? Because she's the Women's Commissioner of SRC. If there wasn't anything like that, then there may not have been a woman on the panel. Is that to say there are no capable women or females who could equally articulate the views of the youth that were being given? So I think that we need to put in more effort. Just last week, I was at a conference with women scientists, etc., and then I had to make a presentation. But I looked again at some of the issues that you are talking about, where the women are represented, and I looked again at boards. So I'm in the science, so I'm a scientist, so I look at the science field. So I looked at the CSIR board, governing body of CSIR. There are 22 people. There's a chair and 21 other people. There are 2 females on there. 1 is there because the regulation says there must be 1 eminent female scientist. So that becomes a given. There has to be 1 person there. Then the rest of them really, apart from the government appointed, the rest are really representatives of various organizations and bodies. Are we saying that all those various organizations and bodies, one of them, I think the MEST, has a female who is representing them. Then I learned that another of the organizations also has 1 female, so now there are 3. But these are 21 people. And we say in Ghana that at this age today, we don't have enough females who are capable, and that's the word, capable, who have the capacity. Not just any woman, but people who have the capacity. We say we have trained people. Don't we think that they are available? Sometimes we may be because we are not putting ourselves forward. That could be an issue, but we need to look at that. The issue of GAEC, Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. Again, they have a lot of institutes and all that, and so their management board or management committee, not the governing council, it's just made up of their directors and the assistant directors and everything. So they end up being about 17 or something. There's 1 female that sits on that committee. How do you think she even feels sitting there in the midst of 17 other men? She's also a director like they are, but how is her voice going to be heard if she does not have the self-confidence and the ability to sit there? So, yes, women tend to be in leadership positions, but there are so few of them that it's basically lonely up there, and getting your voice heard can be a challenge.
Okay, we'll take the initial comment of Ms. Gifty Kodo on this issue.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to be a part of a panel with my mothers. It's an honor to be here. And my stand in this argument is there are women in leadership, but we are very small, very limited, very small percentage. And due to maybe how things are done, it affects the young people, especially from let's say from the education schools, In terms of maybe standing into political positions, there are a lot of agitations, and they call those people disrespectful and misfits. Normally, when females want to stand into leadership positions, they suffer a lot of insults, even from their own female. They don't trust them. They are not willing to assist them. And so I think that it happens, it goes round in even the working sector, where women are not able to push one another. We are not supporting ourselves to stand in or to support ourselves to move up to the top in making decisions, and thereby finding very little samples of us, little percentage of us at the top.
Irene will be the last person to speak on this.
Looking at the stage we've been given as women to talk about women empowerment and how women can effect changes in our economies and in various parts of where we find ourselves, means that the reality is changing, and now the voices of women are being listened to. And when we go way back in our homes, it has always been our mothers who have been managing the homes. And so we know the importance of giving women the voice to lead. And talking about it, I was privileged to have my master's education here in Ghana, and which is an African continent, here in Accra. And we had a lot of women, and for the first time in my faculty, there were more women than there were men. This doesn't mean the problem is solved. This doesn't mean that it is all good. That is why we are still here talking about it, because the opportunities are limited. There are few. There are so many structures that come against women when we talk about positions in companies. We want to give women positions. We say the woman has to be married, the woman has to have kids, the woman have to. We don't look at the knowledge, we don't look at the strength the woman is coming from. We tell you women get pregnant, and so we can't put them in CEO positions. I think these are some of the things that we're going through, and then as we voice out our opinions, as we voice out what is wrong with the system, it is all coming together. And so this opportunity here, we are a group of women, different ages and sizes. We are all given the opportunity to talk, bring out what we can do, the changes we can effect in our economies. We are accepting. In the USA, they couldn't accept a woman president, but in Africa, unprecedented, we had Sirleaf Johnson in Liberia, and now the new Ethiopian Prime Minister is also a woman. And so as the talks are going on, there have been opportunities given, but we ask ourselves, have we put ourselves out there to take these opportunities?
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's been clear from the submission that at least we do find some women in leadership positions, but we all really need to sort of advocate and make sure that the number increases, because it's really not equal. It's not equal at all. Now, I just want to ask that as we find some women getting into leadership positions, do we really see that having women in leadership positions make any difference? Do we find any difference in situations where we have a lot more women in leadership as compared to situations where we don't have women in leadership? Do women really make any difference? I would want Prof to respond to that.
I would say that yes, women do make a difference. We need to recognize that as human beings, we are made differently. When it comes to intellect, etc., we are equal, but we have to recognize that physiologically, psychologically, we are different between the males and females. There are some differences. And we have all been wired in a particular way so that together the world will function better. So women come with a certain perspective and a certain way of looking at things, and working together with men, they are able to make a whole lot of difference and make things run sometimes better, because you are looking at a certain perspective and you want to take along everybody else, because generally one would say that naturally we have a more nurturing role and nature. It tends to come out, and therefore we are able to use that talent, that natural talent that we have, and use it together with our intellect and all that we have gained to be able to make a difference. The important thing is for us to recognize as the society, and for women ourselves to recognize that we do have a potential, and that potential is something that we should not let go. We should know that we need to prepare ourselves, like my young friend said, that we need to prepare ourselves. The important other thing is, how do we create the enabling environment for women to shine? Because where sometimes you may find that you are not being able to be effective is because the environment is not friendly for you to be able to succeed, because of sometimes your other roles that you have to play. And it's something that we cannot run away from. It's something that we cannot shy away from, that women have a procreation role, and that has to come in. So if you should get pregnant for 9 months, you may not be as effective as you should be. But if we recognize these things and make provision for them, women, wherever they are going to be able to make a lot of difference. And I can say, for me, let me say that, okay, coming from the University of Ghana, I would say that Volta Hall is one of the best run halls in the university. It's all women, it's run by women, and it's all women, but it is the best run hall. For years, we've had, and it's been over the years, when it comes to managing the finances, when it comes to managing what the human resource and everything, it is the best run. You know, so I would say that women can make a difference, and we do make a good difference.
Okay, Gifty, there's also the notion that women are our own enemies. Is it right for us to assume that every woman who finds herself in leadership position would be gender aware and gender responsive?
The question again.
Okay, she said that from her experience working in the university, she thinks that indeed women make a difference in leadership. Now I'm looking at the thought from the other side. My question is that there is the whole notion that women are our own enemies. For instance, if I happen to be a woman boss and I have a junior colleague who is a woman, and like she said, women have procreation roles and all of that. So she's pregnant, she's not delivering as she's supposed to, or that she has to take a day off to go and attend to her child who is sick. But instead of this boss really standing in to speak for her subordinates at management position, she might rather be the one saying that this person is not performing, this person is not really delivering as she's supposed to, which sort of ties to the general notion that women don't really promote ourselves, you know. Instead of us standing up and talking for other women, we rather end up being the ones trying to kick against them. So we want to get your reaction on this. And is this really the case? I mean,
in most cases, I think it's true. Even though we have equally good managers who are ladies or women supporting their young ones to come up, there's still a number of them who feel that, okay, this girl is going to take over me soon. This girl is this and that and that. And I think that we naturally just have this rivalry inside of us, and we are not willing to push ourselves together. But I think it's time that we rise up and support our own. And in our homes, just like our mothers train us to cater for our other siblings, I think that our brothers should also be given the opportunity. They should also be trained, just like they train us women to be able to cater for the others. The boys too should be able to do that, so that even at the top, the men can also look out for the other women who are coming up. And in that case, we are not just looking at the women supporting their own, even when it doesn't happen, then the men can also step in and push us to be in our positions.
Very much. Irene, when Prof. Sechi was talking earlier, she made mention of the fact that there have been some boards where she realized it's only one woman sitting on the table, which means even though she finds herself in a leadership position, she's a bit marginalized. Really, the question is that why do we find women being marginalized in boards and in very high leadership positions? Because she got there through her capability, her ability to deliver, but she may come up with suggestions. She gives ideas on how an organization should move, and then they say no, she's only a woman. Just to cite an example, sometime this week there was some decision which needed to be taken. We had discussed earlier with one woman, and she had given her verdict on it. But later on, a man came to say the opposite. And then when we informed him that, oh, the woman had already said this, they are the same levels. The man said that, oh, she's only a woman. She's only a woman. We are the ones who take the decision. So yes, we are colleagues at the same level, but it's like, the woman's notion or the woman's idea is really not the final say because she's only a woman. Why do we find these things happening in our society?
This is very important, and it goes way back to our tradition and our settings, and where we are growing up in the house. I had 2 elder brothers where I'm supposed to serve them because they are men. And the men are supposed to take the leadership position in the house. And when your parents are going out, they will tell you, take care of your sister. And so you are always the subordinate. Why do you need to be a leader at work when this has always been your role? You are supposed to be down for the man to be up. And so it goes back to how we treat our children, how the upbringing of our children. Traditionally, don't let women feel they are not capable. Don't let women be the weakness of the family. And when women are empowered to a point where I can take decisions for my family, I can make good decisions and decisions that can improve my family, then when we take it to the office settings, you are coming with a strong zeal where you can't be pushed to the background, then you can work that way. That is what we know. And so when we are choosing positions for boards, we definitely go for men. I think even women, we are uncomfortable, even ourselves, to be on board. We will see, oh, where are the women? Because that is what has been imprinted in our DNAs, in our systems, that we need a man to be complete. We need a man to be able to make decisions. And it's important we have men, but we can do it. We can do everything. And then we talked about the point where we said, have women been able to push their agendas? Go look at the statistics. Wherever women have been, they have been able to do it appropriately and right. Women go by the rules, they play by the rules. You may not like her, but she is playing by the rules. She's going according to how she thinks that it's going to work. Men don't have this natural instincts that come naturally to women. Why is this so? Because we are able to manage things well. And so women can do everything. Women can be in good positions. Women can be on board. And then it is high time we change our structures that there should be a woman. So that means there is one woman on the board. It should be open. It should be fair. Let us fight for it. I believe in equality of stages. Don't say I'm a woman, so I should be given a stage. But rather, the stage should be equal. Then women too can participate.
Prof, let's look at it in terms of capacity. Of course, we are pushing that women should be on the board. Does it mean we should put her there even if she can't deliver? Do we find our women not really being capable of delivering? Or what should we be doing to empower our women to also be able to get up to those topmost leadership positions?
Thank you for that question. I would not say that women are not capable. However, like she said, if sometimes you are looking at the issue through the eyes of, well, there's supposed to be one woman there, so we'll fish any woman and put there, then we run into a problem. Then it can perpetuate the idea that women don't have it, because you have put somebody who is not capable in a position that she should not be, just because she's a woman and you need a woman to fill that position. And sometimes, I suppose sometimes it could be deliberate on the part of whoever is putting it together, because that way, we can have our way, we can do whatever, we just marginalize her. She's just there as a token woman and we keep it that way. But if you have a capable woman who intellectually is as capable as all the others who are there, or women who are there, then you would see that everything progresses. She is able to deliver. And so as women, just like, I was listening to what we're saying about the youth and all. As women, we need to go the same direction route. You have to take it. You have to prepare yourself. You have to make sure that you are educating yourself, making yourself ready to be able to take up a leadership position. So it's exactly the same thing. It's just any marginalized group. Nothing will be given to you on a silver platter. You have to prepare yourself for it. You have to make sure that you are the best. And unfortunately, so long as you are a marginalized group or person, you need to work harder. You need to prove yourself twice as much as the one who has it. So it's the same situation. So the youth are saying the old people don't listen to us. They think we'll have to prove ourselves. We have to work hard to make sure. You have to do it double to make sure that the other person knows that you are capable. It is the same thing with women. And so sometimes when that notion, the question you asked about women being their own enemies come in, I always tend to look at it through the lens of the fact that you are supposed to prove yourself twice over. And so sometimes you have to be hard in a way that somebody thinks that you are being bossy. Or there are two things. There's one that, oh, I'm a woman, you're a woman, you should understand me. I can do any wishy-washy work and it's fine. Don't complain because you should understand me. I'm a woman. You are a woman. And that issue comes up. And therefore, when you are standing your ground to say no, whether you're a woman or a man, these are the expectations of you. Then they say, yeah, the women are too bossy. Or the man does not also like to take instructions from a woman. So the woman is too bossy. We are expected to be mothers, to understand and everything. But different situations come up with different things where you are supposed to be in a different arena. Wherever you are, there's something that you need to do. So you have to be able to, even though have your nurturing ability, because you are proving yourself, and you have to make sure that you are proving yourself not only for you, but for other women. So because if you mess up, you have messed up for other women. So it's the same thing like the youth. If you mess up, you've messed up for the youth, the rest of the youth. The same with the women. If you mess up, you have messed up for others. You say, yes, they are not capable. So you might be forced to be a little more maybe bossy or harder than you normally would be. The other thing is also, at least from my perspective and what I do with my students, I let you understand that you are capable. And therefore, sometimes I might push you a little harder than the man because you are trying to use your gender and, oh, I'm a girl, it doesn't matter. No, other women have done it. Therefore, you can do it. So let's go on. Don't rest on your oars. Let's do this. If you are capable of doing it. And it is a way of encouraging, because we have to prepare ourselves so that wherever we are, you perform creditably and not just be any wishy-washy work just because I'm a woman and you expect that you should be understood. No, you're a human being. God has given you the capability and you must prove yourself as a human being.
Okay, Irene, let me come to you as a follow-up to what Prof said. She said that usually the woman might have to prove herself twice as much as what a guy probably might have to do to be able to be promoted to a certain position and all of that. But why should that really be the case? We all have the same qualifications. We are all supposed to, the work clearly cuts out what you are supposed to do. Of course, it's good to be innovative and do extra, but it looks like for a woman to really be put, to be promoted or to be put at a certain position, she has to work extremely hard, in fact, extra harder than what a gentleman would have done. Why should that be the case?
It still goes back to what I was saying, because we know men are always supposed to be in charge. And so when it is given to a woman, and now there is an unbalance of power. Now, what I want to say is that when a woman is given this position, he has to work harder for the men under him to understand him, that he wields that power. The men have to understand that he's the one taking the shot, he's the one making the decisions. And when you are not strict, when you are not hard, when you don't go hard on them, they will take you for granted. And so you need to work twice as much as a male counterpart would do on the other side. So it has always been that we are not used to a female leader, a female boss. And so when we get a male boss, we don't give them the accorded respect that they need. And so what are the strategies? You can't always be patient, waiting for them to catch up. And so you need to go the extra mile. That is why you have to double up.
We just had Professor Goski Alabi joining us. She's the Vice Chancellor of Lawe Open University. Welcome, Prof. Okay, Prof, my next question is to you. I know you just came. At the Association of African Universities, we usually organize a conference for rectors, vice chancellors, and presidents of African universities, and this is done every 2 years. Now, I've realized that at those meetings, we usually have very few women vice chancellors. I'm just happy to really know that we have one of them sitting here, but they are really very few across the continent. This sort of tells us that there's really some challenge when it comes to women occupying leadership positions. There seem to be some challenges in the system which doesn't create that environment or make it suitable or favorable for women to climb up to the very topmost leadership positions. I want you to take us through some of these challenges. Why do we find our women very small at the top and very big at the base? But when it comes to the opposite, is the other gender is the opposite way.
Thank you very much. And once again, I would like to congratulate the AAU for a very good job done. I think that the issue of women in leadership has been with us for some time. A couple of years ago, I presented at the Oxford Roundtable, and it was on strategic preparedness for women in leadership position in higher education. And so I got to speak to some of our very respected women, blessed memory, Mariam Adi, right? Mariam Adi, of blessed memory. At the time, she was very popular, and she had been head of department for the biochemistry department at the University of Ghana, and very nationally respected. I also spoke to Ama Taidu, and then there was a third woman who had received an award at the University of the KNUST that I spoke to. And I found out a number of things that surprised me. The conclusion I drew was that, first of all, we limit ourselves as women by our mindset. Secondly, I also noted that it was our understanding of the requirements of the environment in which we find ourselves. Because already women place that cap, that ceiling on themselves. We tend to think that it is not a place for us, and so we feel, well, this is a man's world. And because it is a man's world, the men also take advantage of it. I recall I asked Professor Mariam Adi one question. She became the head of department, and I asked her, why do you think you didn't become the dean of the science faculty at that time? And her response was very simple. The men ganged up against me. These were her words. But then I asked myself, why did the men gang up against you? Because the men were more. But you see, the requirement at the time for becoming a head of department was very different from that of becoming a dean. The deanship position was a political position because it was through election of the members who were at the level of the HOD. And predominantly, they were men. The HOD has to do with your rank. So it was who was more senior at the time who became the head of department. Okay, so you realize that I felt that we are often not strategically positioned for the top positions because we think it is not our place. If we would remove that limitation, that ceiling, that block that we place on our mindsets and tell ourselves that, after all, there is no difference. There is no difference between us and the men. The men have their world. They have the things to worry about. We also have our world. We have the things to worry about. They worry about how to make their families comfortable and how to be in the lead. We worry about how to nurture the family, how to take care of the family, and at the same time be able to compete with them. So as a woman, a young woman, of course, you are thinking about, when do I get married? When I get married, when do I have my children? When I have my children, who helps me in the house to take care of them while I go to work? But I want to believe that these are all things that we can plan. And if we plan them very well, and we have God and grace on our side, we would have the strength to pull through, because it is not easy. It is not easy to manage the home, manage the family, and manage your career. But I feel it's because we put it in our minds that there is too much for us to do. That, do I choose the family over the career, or the career over the family? Why some of these things happen? I recall very well. I just give you one more example. I worked before coming here, and while I worked at the Food and Drug Board, there was an opportunity for one of the ladies to travel to Japan for 3 months. She has been married for just about a year. And the husband and the husband's family told her, it's either you choose to go to Japan over. She had moved in. And they had to go through divorce. She had to divorce. So it is not as easy and as simple as we see it. For young women, I would say it is also the kind of partner you get. And that's why we have to choose our partners with caution, with a lot of care and thinking through. Because if that man is not supportive of you, and the family does not understand why they should support you to move forward in your career, it's going to be a difficult task for you. And you would always have to juggle between choosing the career or choosing the family. But I think in all, let's remember, it is about how we manage the family, the career. It is about removing that limitation, that ceiling, that block, and it is about we understanding the requirements of the environment and having the right social capital. We need to bond amongst ourselves as women. We need to stand for each other. We need to know that when we are on LinkedIn, when we are on Twitter, when we are on Facebook, for goodness sake, we need to be there. But we are not using them for lovey-lovey. We are using them to build social capital that we can leverage, because without social capital, forget it. Your qualification can only knock the door for you. But even when it knocks the door, that qualification is no guarantee that the door is going to be opened. It takes social capital to move through to the top. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Goski, for those submissions.